Thank you for staying with us and welcome to another edition of Channels Beam. I'm Victor Matthias. Now, with the 2023 elections fast approaching, groups have been making their demands known to those who intend to run for political offices. Today on the program, we will focus on youth inclusion and also what the youths expect of the candidates when the time for the general elections comes. But before we begin the discussion, let's take a look at what made social media trends in the past week.
Former Nigeria Olympic football gold medalist was on the timeline as a trend following the discovery that he now drives a commercial vehicle in Enugu State. This drew the attention of Nigerians who sought help for the national award holder, prompting Super Eagles captain Ahmed Musa donating 2 million naira to aid the former footballer. Nigerians and athletes around the world expressed rude shock after Guinness Book of World Record holder Blessing Okagbare was handed a 10-year ban for alleged doping by the AIU. She has since reacted and has asked her lawyers to study the situation before deciding on the next line of action.
And those were the trends in the past week. But joining us now to look at the topic of the day, we have right here in the Lagos studio, Bola Dale Adekoya. He is a writer and editor who has authored several publications and contributions featured on international and local media platforms. He is currently the deputy managing editor of People's Gazette. It's a pleasure to have you on the program today.
It's a pleasure to be here, Victor.
Of course. And we also have joining us via Zoom from Asaba in Delta State, Elvis Akpobi. He is a youth advocate and leadership enthusiast. He is the founder and CEO of the Not Too Young to Lead initiative and also the special assistant to the governor of Delta State on youth development. It's a pleasure to have you as well on the program, Elvis. All right, we'll get to Elvis and another guest later on in the show, but let's kickstart the show with you, Bola Dale. So many demands have been made, people have been actually speaking, just trying to give pointers to those who intend to vie for political offices, come 2023. Has any candidate shown any form of expectation or any form of aura that meets your expectation?
Well, presently, what we've only been having is the usual dance, the usual parade amongst politicians. Most of them claim to be consulting while they're presently campaigning. And we've seen a large number of the big names out, those who have publicly declared their intention and those whose body language seems to be interested in the race. And to a large extent, I do not really think that while I'm a big advocate of the youth getting involved in the political space, really when it comes to the presidential election, I think that the reality on ground does not really support the emergence of a youth. When I'm talking about youth, I'm talking about someone within the age of 30 to 35 to 40. Does not really support because you need a lot of things comes into play before you get elected, and they might not possess that presently. So to a large extent, you might still have the whole dogs, who might end up choosing between any of the old politicians that we know. But I think at the end of the day, it's less for us to decide who among those who have made their intention known do we feel that fits actually into the prosperous Nigerians that we all desire.
So, I mean, from the way you're going, you're pretty much talking about presidential elections, but we always focus on that. What about the state elections and local elections? What feelers are you getting?
Well, interestingly, a lot of Nigerian youth have shown interest in House of Assemblies. I've seen some posters. Of course, the state election, House of Reps, and the Senate as well, which has really been very good. For most, and I think this is where we try to get it wrong as the youth section in the country, is on the part of believing that for us to meet up with our aspiration, it has to be through the third force. I remember it happened in 2011, 2019 and 2015. If any young candidate is coming now, it has to be one of the known or unknown parties. Banky W did it. He went for a unknown party. And I remember also a lot of people went to Kowa and the likes of them. So to a large extent, I think we have to face the reality that if we actually want to make good our intention to take back this country, we have to join the two most important political parties. Because presently, those parties seems to be the only party who can actually win in the large scale. But of course, we should also take cognizance of the fact that in some special areas, I remember this guy won in Ondo State, Small Alaji won in Ondo State, the party that is not PDP, popular, it's not APC, so it's not a popular political party. So we have such incidents.
So there are exceptions.
Yes, so we have such incidents. But on a larger scale, I think it's basically between the PDP and the APC, and the Nigerians should just get involved and get involved in the process.
So you talked about the realities on ground. You talked about things that people need to possess. If you could elucidate on that, like what are those things? What are the realities, so to speak, now that you think you think are encumbrances for young people?
Okay, there are two things that comes to play when you look at getting the ticket of the party and winning the election. To get the ticket of the party, you must necessarily be part of the party, part of the process of the party. You will be able to convince the party delegates that you're actually representing the party. And when it comes to winning the larger election, do you have the structure? Because it is enough for people, it is easier for people to say, oh, Nigerian youths have taken a stand against the older generation. But the fact remains that when push comes to shove, people are going to vote based on their interest. So what you look at is, do you have structures across whatever district or constituency you are vying for? Do you have the structure to ensure your victory? And that is the problem. Most of the youth do not. It's different from we voting. It's different. I mean, say Nigerian youth don't vote. That's different. Participation and voting itself is different. So if you are voting, of course, you can get people to do that. But when you get to that polling unit,
when you are on the ballot,
when you are in the ballot, and you have to convince people to actually vote for you, do you have what it takes? And you look at it.
What does it take?
Now, look at pragmatically. Let's start from the polling units. You need to have agents. And I remember one of the third force that contested 2019 election came back and he was really bitter about the process of election in Nigeria. And the reality is that you need to have agents at every polling unit in this country. And those are in thousands. And you have to pay them. And of course, the aspect of mobilizing voters as well to the polling units. Even though we try to shy away from it, the fact remains that vote buying itself has become a kind of a necessity in Nigeria now, because the people are hungry. And that's the reality on ground. So if you are offering people hope at the polling unit, and someone is offering them 5,000, 10,000 naira, how do you want to defeat that? Because they will tell you that 5,000 is going to get that for you.
But didn't we see videos, I think from Anambra State during the elections, that people rejected overtures by some party members, that were handing over money to them, and they said, no, we wanted to vote our choice. We want to follow our minds and vote whom we want to. Isn't that replicable in other parts of the country?
Yes, it is. But you look at these are isolated cases. Because I saw the video of the woman that was later compensated. And if you look at it, I remember the report of the NGOs and the observers as well. They all said that vote buying took place in the Anambra election. And it was massive. So that means that we only have isolated cases of people rejecting, of course, even the so-called knowledgeable ones. I remember the vote in Ondo election, and people were saying that students, and they were displaying that I've gotten my own 5,000, I've gotten my own 10,000. And those are the youths, the individuals that you think should be able to know better when it comes to election. So when push comes to shove, what is really obtainable is that people want to eat. They are hungry. So how do you defeat that? That is their interest. Your own interest is to have an egalitarian society, a better Nigeria. So how do you match that together? Are you going to offer them money and also offer them hope? Or are you just going to offer them hope alone? So if you have a structure in place that can guarantee, that can adequately canvass, one thing we've not been able to unlock in this country is a part of voters' participation in the electoral process. What most Western countries they've been able to unlock it because people contribute their hard-earned money into the election. So Biden can tell you, I've been able to raise so millions of dollars through contribution. So people that willingly give...
Can't we do that? Can't young people crowdsource? Now, for instance, you have a young person whom all young people kind of believe in. What's wrong with a crowdsourcing platform? I mean, you have all of those. You've seen them crowdsource for studies, for medicals, you know, and a lot of other things. But why can't you have a crowdsource, you know, platform where people can donate to candidates who are vying for elections?
Because it's different. If you're crowdsourcing for a cause, you see someone who wants to go through a surgery and you crowdsource the platforms, it's because you believe that that person should have access to good health care. You want the person to be better. Now, when it comes to politics, because people have seen politics as a means to an end, they believe anyone going to that position is not going in there for their interest. He's going in there to protect his own personal interest. So what they want to know is, does the person's interest aligns with theirs? So if you are telling me that Nigerian youths, if you want to tell me that we should contribute, let's say 10 billion naira to election of a presidential candidate, what I will ask you is this. That 10 billion naira, how are we sure that when the person gets there, the system is going to change? And I've seen a lot of people, and most politicians in Nigeria, what they fail to do is this. They'll all come along and they'll tell you that, guys, I'll provide water, and even the so-called new generation ones. I'll provide waters, I'll provide this and that. But our problem is not, we have infrastructural deficit, but our problem is not the infrastructural deficit. Our problem is the system. We need to fix the system. And when I'm talking about to fix the system, we need a police force that is independent from the executive control. Of course, there can be an oversight, but it doesn't have to be controlled. We need the fire service that does not need to take directive from anybody before doing the job. So we need all the structures, all the system, all the institutions to be independent. But the problem is this: to get that done is easier, but it takes political will, which most people lack, because the Western system is presently structured. Profits a lot of people.
Don't you think the young people have the will to change all of that if they eventually?
Having the will is different, and I'm glad that President Muhammadu Buhari, when he got into office, he realized that there's a difference between having the dream and having the political will. Now, you have the dream, you have the will, you have the dream. But the gain is that if you now get into power, you realize that you do not have the financing. So if people are
You do not have what?
You do not have the financing.
Okay.
Because it's a democratic system. So there are structures in place. For you to make any amendment, it has to go through a system. Does the system support that amendment?
Can't you convince the system?
You have to convince the system. Then, unfortunately, no, not unfortunately, because that is what is obtainable around the world. It's a quid pro quo. So if you are telling the Congress or National Assembly that I want this to be done, they'll tell you, okay, what's in it for me? What's in it for me is different from what is in it, of course, in other countries, because that one will be which of these project is coming to my constituency. So it's not about monetary value. But it might be different in Nigeria presently. So you look at it pragmatically. Nigerian youth, I think what we need to do is to elect people that share our values. They don't need to be of a certain age demographics. They have to be people that understands the Nigeria that we dream of. The Nigeria that is tech inclined, that is built on innovation. And we have that in surplus among the youth. So Nigerian youth needs a system that helps them thrive without, there's a palace they call it now, without blocking their shine. So they need a system that enables them thrive and also that gives the foundation, the structure for them to be able to thrive. So if these two things are in place, Nigeria will be on autopilot.
Well, let's hope that comes to fruition sooner rather than later. But just hold it there for a bit. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back in a moment. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We'll still have with us in the Lagos studio Bola Dale Adekoya. And also, now we have joining us via Zoom again, Elvis Akpobi. He is a youth advocate and a leadership enthusiast. Elvis, it's a pleasure to have you on the program today.
Thanks for having me.
Indeed. So a lot of water has gone on the bridge since the program started. We've been talking about how young people, would fare if their expectations are being met by those who, have shown interest to run for national, state, and local government elections. But kickstart the conversation for us in this aspect now. We're looking at if it is possible, because from what we've gathered, it seems the message out there is, oh, the young people want to take the country back. And I don't know, to me, it sounds aggressive. Is there a way a transgenerational agreement can be reached for this transition to happen, in your opinion?
I can't get it properly, but I know the point we are in this country now is there's need for a generational shift, as far as I'm concerned, because our country today is faced with digital problems. So if we must solve our problems, we must put forward people who have digital mindsets, people who are in sync with modern day reality. So you don't give us like drugs for typhoid when we have malaria. So if you don't know if you're not in sync with modern day reality as a leader, for me, I don't think anybody should support anybody who is not in sync with what we really need as a country now. Because most of the people today coming out for vying for the #1 office in Nigeria today, to me, I feel a handful of them are not in sync with global practices and what we really need. So for me, we always advocate for young people with character, capacity, and competence. And I believe if we young people put ourselves together, devoid of binary, ethnic binary, religious binary, we can come together. And we have the light mass can come together and put forward digital people who are youth-centric, people who know their problems. And I think we'll get it right by 2023. If really we bury the asset and we don't look at the whole election through the lens of ethnicity, religions, and all that, we'll get it right.
Yeah, so the issue is around coming together. I mean, how feasible is that?
It's very, very feasible. It's just that I keep telling every young person on every platform I find, I keep telling them that we keep complaining. If we're seeing the problem, we should work towards the solution. And the solution is every young person in Nigeria, irrespective of be it Hausa, be it Yoruba, be it from the South, you are a Muslim, you are a Christian, who've complained for too long. It seems as if the Nigeria dream is escaping Nigeria. A lot of young people who escape Nigeria today, they are not living well abroad. You all snap pictures. They will come together, devoid of these social media. It takes more than social media. Register to vote or get involved in party politics, because if we overwhelm these parties, if young persons overwhelm parties, they'll bring forward young persons. But when we keep saying politics is dirty, we can't wait to get involved, we don't want to get involved, the older generation, they will keep bringing forward themselves and we will not get it right. And we will not end up voting for whoever these parties bring. But if we young persons get involved in party politics, I think we'll get it right.
So the involvement in party politics, earlier on the show, Bola Dale was talking about the involvement in party politics, what it takes to secure the ticket first and what it also takes to, secure the votes on the D-Day. How equipped will you say young people are to make this happen when the time comes?
I wouldn't say we're that equipped, because today the politics of Nigeria today is all about money. And I call them the genocrats, the older generation. They'll be able to, keep us at a particular stage so we don't have access to that money. And it's a money-driven generation. You find out that as a young person, even if you have character, capacity, and competence, you come in for an election, and once in a while you gather your contemporaries, tell them the need why they should vote you, the young person. you find out that they end up not supporting you because even when you sit down, you don't share plans for them, you don't give them handouts. They'll be like, you're not ready. But a culture will already, things a lot of persons are embracing because of poverty. And when you're poor, you become vulnerable. And that's what the old political class they've been able to do. They made us very, very poor, making us that vulnerable. And the other thing I always say again is the problem we are faced with today in Nigeria is not it's not young persons like you and I who are exposed. We're not gullible. Those in the village that when you give them 5,000, they can kill their fellow young person for an older person who is not competent. That's the problem we are facing with in Nigeria today. These persons are not exposed. But we must keep engaging, we must keep advocating, we must keep informing young people that we have the numbers. And when we have the numbers, any organization that have numbers, any charity that has the numbers, people sit down, decide that this is what we want, to get it right. Because I've heard someone saying it's not yet that after he becomes the president, it will now become the turn of the young president. In 8 years' time, I won't be. I'm not sure I'll be talking about being a young person in 8 years' time. So if you encroach into my own generation, what do you expect the generation coming behind me? Because if you check the generation coming behind me, they're even more energetic, they are more digitally aware. They will push us very fast on what we are having.
All right, very well. It seems, are you scared of the generation coming behind you? Just a joke. I'll come back to you just to wrap up. But he talked about, having strength in numbers. As time goes on, do you think this is going to play a key role? Because if you look at all of the statistics, the young people seem to have it, all. But do you think this is going to play a key role when the time comes, as we wind down, lastly?
Yeah, I believe it will play a key role because at the end of the day, election is about numbers. So if you have the numbers, definitely you have luck on your side. But the problem is, if you have the numbers, how united are you guys? Can you speak with one voice? Can you vote with one voice? And that is the most important thing. I was with a politician just a few weeks ago, and he was talking about youth, Nigerian youth don't vote, they are on social media. And I asked them, so why are you guys always trying to get their favors, get to buy into their agenda? And he said their fear, their first fear is that they can wake up tomorrow and decide to vote for Portable as the next president. So because they have the number, so they can just wake up tomorrow and feel we are tired of the entire system, we just want to destroy the entire process and just vote for someone they don't know. And you wake up and that will be the reality.
Well, just like Elvis said, the young person must be capable, must have capacity and, and all of that. I hope that's what's going to play out eventually when that time comes and, not otherwise. But I have to say thank you for joining us on the program and sharing your thoughts. Thanks as well to Elvis for joining us on the program today and sharing your thoughts. And that's the program today. Thank you so very much for watching. I'm Victor Matthias. We'll leave you with the most viewed videos on our YouTube channel in the past week.
Former Imo State Governor Rochas Okorocha asking President Buhari to call the EFCC to order for alleging that he defrauded the state of 2.9 billion naira kicks off this week's most viewed videos.
The EFCC had claimed that they recovered the sum of 5.9 billion from my account, which the court found out to be untrue. In other words, they were biased and they prejudged me.
It is followed by the support shown by former President Goodluck Jonathan to presidential ambition of Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed.
I've come to seek for your blessing so that we can start this journey from here to go to all the parts and corners of Nigeria to seek the opinion of other leaders of Nigeria like you.
How old are you?
In third is Governor of Lagos State stopping his convoy to speak with 2 out-of-school girls, after which he offered them scholarships.
Amarachi will go back to school by the grace of God, and she will be somebody that I will follow up to till when she finishes her education.
Second is the appearance of Nnamdi Kanu in court wearing a Fendi outfit.
You are accusing Nnamdi Kanu of making some broadcast. You didn't say where this broadcast was made. Was it made in the spirit world? Was it made in the air? Was it made under the ground? You didn't state.
While in first is the parade of 4 teenagers for allegedly beheading a girlfriend of one of them.